All right. What's up, guys? It's been a while since we did a live on this channel, but I've got John Anthony here. And yeah, we're just going to talk about some stuff, some recent events. His channel disappeared off of YouTube. And so, yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit and kind of what dating and AI looks like today. But yeah, welcome, John.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's always good to catch up with you.
Yeah. Likewise. But yeah, so I mean, channel, what happened there? What I'm sure a lot of
Yeah,
people are
so I,
shocked.
I started my YouTube channel in 2017. So it's been about 9 years. So we're coming up on 2026. And I had over 4,000 videos, including shorts. And
Yeah.
you know how it is as a creator. Like you pour your whole heart and soul into it. You're always thinking about new ideas. You're always, researching stuff, planning videos. It's a big part of your life, right?
Oh yeah.
So the morning that I woke up to like your channel has been removed, I was like, you know, I was like feeling physically sick, right?
Oh
Because it
yeah.
was like, holy shit, it's like a piece of me was like deleted. And for those of you guys watching that aren't aware of how the process works to get your channel deleted, which has never happened before, you basically get 3 strikes, right? So you get a warning if there's like some policy violation, and
Yeah.
then that goes away after like 3 months if you take like a policy training on that thing. And then, but if you do it again in that period, you get a strike, and then you can't post for a week. And I've only had strikes a couple times, and it was over BS reports,
Yeah.
making like false copyright strikes in the past and stuff like that. So I had no strikes on the channel when the channel went down. And so it went down, and then I was doing some research, and I found some Reddit threads about a whole bunch of people's channels were going down. And there's
Oh
like
yeah.
this whole like ban wave due to AI moderation. And so YouTube basically introduced AI is able to moderate channels,
Yeah.
and it just unfairly deleted a whole bunch of channels. So like a whole lot of other people, I'm currently in like this limbo state, hoping that the channel gets restored, but it's unclear at this point. And Penguins, who's like a huge creator,
Oh yeah.
who's been on YouTube for like 18 years, he has like millions of subscribers. I think he goes by Moist Critical is like his official gamer name. He put out a video about the AI moderation ban wave. He said he's never seen anything like this on YouTube.
Yep.
And he gave a whole bunch of examples of like channels getting deleted for no reason. So, it looks like I was just a victim of the initial sweep, and we're hoping that things come back. But in the meantime, I'm just posting new videos on Rumble, right, which doesn't have all the different restrictions that YouTube has.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and I think you put the description link for the
Yeah. It
Rumble
should
channel for
be.
anybody that's interested. And that
Yeah.
has all my YouTube videos from the past as well for anybody that's interested in seeing my content. So,
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that sucks, man. That I know,
yeah.
like, yeah, that's like must have been like just a fucking blow to the head when you see that. But I mean,
What
hopefully,
was cool though, like a whole bunch of people reached out. Like I got
yeah.
a whole outpouring of like emails and people DMing me on Instagram and all this stuff about how they were watching my channel daily. They love my content, this and that, and wishing me the best.
Yeah.
And that's nice to see, because you know how it is as a creator. Like you're basically talking to a camera in like a room by yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you see like the comments and you see the view counts, and you engage with people and stuff, but there's like a disconnect,
Oh yeah.
right? Because you don't know a lot of these people in real life. So it's always cool to have people reach out and tell you that they appreciate what you're doing and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's good to get that. Yeah. And I had a bunch of people reach out to me too. They're like, what happened with John's channel? And I was like, I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, it's crazy. But it's funny too, because YouTube was just saying something about how they were relaxing on the moderation because of the
Oh,
whole, thing with because of their bias and whatnot. And so, in fact, you can say fuck in the first 5 seconds of a video now.
oh, really? That's good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
I usually do that anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, so well, yeah, I mean, hopefully that gets resolved then, and you get the channel back, but
Yeah,
at least you got the Rumble going. And
yeah. I did a Rumble like comeback kind of live stream. What was it, on Tuesday of this week, and we
yeah.
have over 8,000 views on it now, which is cool. Which is
Yeah.
far more than my YouTube live streams normally get like 2,500 to 3K.
Yeah.
And the concurrent live viewers at a time usually on YouTube is like 50 to 100, sometimes 100 to 150. But I had like 300 to 350, and sometimes even a little over 350 on the Rumble stream. So it
Wow.
was good to see the support there. And that's what we'll be posting in the meantime, while we're waiting for all this to potentially resolve.
Yeah, there's something weird with the YouTube algorithm too. Like I just noticed. I mean, I've got a lot of channels, and they all get the same amount of views every single month. And it's always like every video always gets the same amount of, like, there's very rarely any, so it's like I know for a fact, just based on the channels that I have, that it
Mhm.
can't be the case that your video gets promoted based on the video. Like obviously there's some component to it, but there's also like, okay, your channel is throttled at this
Oh,
level.
dude. Yeah. Welcome to my world. You and I are both in the same boat. We're like,
Yeah.
I think we're like suppressed or shadow banned to some degree, where we can like nail, like 10 out of 10, nail the thumbnail, the trending topic, the
Yeah.
editing, the message, the hook, everything. And it still will hardly get any reach. Whereas a bigger channel that normally gets reach can put out like a really crappy video and they'll still get it sent to a ton of people. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely weird stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about, I thought we'd talk a little bit about kind of, I know you're big into AI, and then we can get
Yep.
into dating stuff too, like what the current market is. But yeah, to like, yeah, what's your thoughts on kind of the AI, like where we're at now with AI?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've been watching some videos. I can talk about how it applies to dating in a moment, but I've been watching some
Okay.
videos about the progression, and it seems like there's a lot of like big thinkers in the AI space that are all converging upon around March 2028 to be when they have like fully functional AI researchers that can iteratively improve themselves. And
Yeah.
so that seems to be like and there's all these, I was watching these videos how there's all these like independent confirmations, like Sam Altman put that on record, but there's a whole bunch of other groups and people that have put that, time frame on record as that's like the takeoff point where it can exponentially improve based on, recursive self-improvement.
Yeah.
So, we're coming up onto 2026. So there's really only like 2 full years before this is all going to really
Yeah.
fly out of control. And so, I really think it's going to get crazy just because, we're both programmers by heart.
Yeah.
We know how recursion works with feeding back on itself. And once it can improve itself while doing AI research, that's going to be, a really crazy acceleration at that point.
Oh yeah.
Um, as it relates to dating, uh, I've been connected to a couple AI photo production tools that really are game changers that make it past any algorithm, blocks on apps like Tinder, right? It doesn't seem to be a problem. And you can strip the metadata and stuff like that just to be safe, but it seems like it's fine even without doing that. And like there's one guy, he kind of like analyzed all these top Tinder profiles
Yeah.
that were scoring according to a certain bunch of metrics. And then he extracted all that data and he has like kind of a template where you can plug in like, I think 25 input photos or something like that from different angles. And it can make like photorealistic versions of yourself that you can't tell at all are AI.
Oh damn.
And all these scenarios, like, out being on a boat or like
Yeah.
under a waterfall or like out on a rooftop, with a drink or something. And it's like a, plug and play, like this is going to make your profile crush. And it's full AI. Like none of the outfits are real. None of the backgrounds are real. None of the poses are real.
Yeah.
And, that raises ethical questions, I guess, about, are you, full of shit here? But, you could go and be in those scenarios in real life.
Yeah.
It's just that the AI like does all the work for you. And so we've been having clients, we either offer them to pair them with a pro photographer to
Yeah.
get a pro photo shoot or to do the AI version. And some apps seem finicky with the AI stuff where they'll like ban or shadow ban your profile. But Tinder, which, arguably is one of the most popular, that seems to have no problem with the AI photos. So,
Yeah.
and then you have things like, Google Gemini Nano Banana, which is like the image editing
Oh yeah.
add-on, and that seems to be able to put people in like photorealistic things as well with the lighting all correct and the shadows correct and all that. So it's definitely an interesting time we're in, and we're seeing, because I have lots of clients using the AI. We're never really encountering at any kind of significant frequency girls thinking that the photos are AI or that are fake. So it seems like it's a good strategy at this point to, not have to take all those trips and hire professional photographers and all
Yeah.
these different scenarios and still have something that makes you look, kind of like a boss, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I don't see much of it. Like, I think a lot of people be like, "Oh, that's unethical" or whatever. But it's not like you're selling something. Like, you're gonna go on a date. Like, you're gonna meet in person, right? So yeah, like, as long as it's, it's not like you're even catfishing, right? Because it's gonna look
Yeah.
like you, right? So it's
Yeah,
just
and the pictures look like basically identical to you as well. It's just
yeah.
that you weren't in those scenarios.
Yeah, I don't see why like, it's not like someone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, well, we've been dating for 6 months, but I found out that on your Tinder profile it was AI images, so like,
Yeah.
I no longer want to date you," or like, it's like, who's gonna care? It doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
end of
like I mentioned to you, behind the scenes, I'm gonna be on a couple streaming platforms next year, and like when those people are interviewing me, they're like, "So these are fake photos." They just like focus on the fact that it's like fake and therefore like underhanded or therefore
yeah,
unethical. And I stress to them, these guys could go and fly to these locations and put on those outfits and actually get the photos taken, but
sure,
this is just like a shortcut. And then just like you said, that you're still meeting them in real life and they get to know your personality in real life and how you look in real life and all that,
yeah.
which matches how it looks in the images, even though the images are fake. But I guess some people just have an issue with it being, like fake scenarios in general. I guess some people have a problem with that.
Yeah, I can get it, but it's also like, hey, I mean, if you go into Burger King and you eat the burger, you saw the advertisement, I guarantee you the ad was not a real burger.
Yeah.
It was a Photoshop burger, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Or like under some unrealistic lighting scenario, or it's like, so yeah, plus,
Yeah, and you're
women wear
marketing
makeup.
yourself on some level, right?
Yeah,
Like the girl is, and I guess you could, have people convey stuff about their personality that they're doing in real life anyways,
yeah,
right? Like if they go rock climbing, but you put them in a more dramatic rock climbing scenario or stuff like that. I don't see the issue with it.
yeah,
And I tell clients too, like if you feel bad or guilty that these aren't real pictures,
yeah,
you just tell the girl on the date or even over text before you meet, you
yeah,
just say, by the way, like some of these are, you know, uh, dramatic versions of stuff that I really do, but I actually wasn't in these photos and I
yeah,
used AI and stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of girls will care. Like from my experience, like a lot of girls like think it's cool anyways,
yeah.
especially if you look the same. Like they're mostly concerned, like, do you really look like that?
Yeah, yeah, because then you're just wasting everyone's time, if you're catfishing, like, so. But if you're creating, these images, you're not really catfishing, then I don't see a problem. But I mean, even like I said, women wear makeup. That's a different
Yeah.
thing, right? Because you can have a girl that puts on makeup and she looks like a totally different person, and no one ever is like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." I mean, some people are, but I
Yeah, and
mean,
people are
everyone
using
else accept it.
filters, they're using
Yeah,
apps to change their face and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So yeah, like I've had clients, like we use Face App, the tool Face App on clients'
sure,
photos just to enhance the aesthetics. And some guys have a problem with that. And I say, girls are wearing lots of makeup, they're doing filters, they're doing Photoshop,
oh yeah,
airbrushing and all this stuff. And so it goes both ways, right? A lot of girls show up not looking like a perfect image of what they portrayed online as well. But that's part of the game, right? You have to, if you want to compete properly, you can't just be with a bunch of bathroom selfies from your cell phone, right?
right, yeah. It's got to be
Which is what
close
most
enough.
guys are doing.
Yeah, right. Like, I think if it's close enough where someone sees you in person and they're like, you're the same person, then that's where I would draw the line. Otherwise, you're just wasting everyone's time. You know what I mean? And then it's like
Yep.
doesn't even make sense to do that. Like, if you catfish, what's the result going to be when you do meet in person? Like, you're starting with a disappointed girl, like, probably not in your benefit anyway, right? So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. But yeah, but dude, it is crazy what's happening with AI. I've been doing some vibe coding myself and like building some apps and stuff. And it's just the level that things are getting at is just, it's absolutely insane. Like,
Have you been having it do a lot of the programming for you?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I have an app that I created that basically, like, I've got that podcast with my wife, the Better Than Perfect podcast. And
Mhm.
so it will go out to YouTube. It will take the podcast. It will get a transcript of it. It will grab the thumbnail, and then it will run the transcript through another AI, and it will generate show notes and
Wow.
like timestamps and everything, like this whole thing. And then it'll put it into like a Ghost blog format, because I'm using Ghost, and then it will upload the ghost blog page up to the website. And so I'll have the full episode with a video player and everything, and it just does
Wow,
that. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
yeah, and I didn't
Yeah, I
write
mean,
any.
we're lucky. Like, there's a lot of recent developments that are making things far easier, right? Like ChatGPT solves all kinds of pretty much any problem at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. What do you think in terms of like the future? Because I mean, there's a lot of people that are, uh, and I think I'm probably in the camp of like, the biggest threat that I see is that, hey, all our skill set are going to be reduced to an even playing field, right? Because if what's the thing that sets you apart, right? It's your brain, like your ability. And
Skills,
so
yeah,
if you've got an AI that is able to perform better than you, or everyone has access to it, then everyone's at
at
the
every
same level.
task.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no, I see that as well. I'm very interested in the what will happen with the job market and stuff like that. A lot of these CEOs of the tech companies and of the AI companies, they keep saying, well, historically, when there's new technologies, more jobs are created and everything's fine, but nothing's been
yeah.
at the level of this technology, right? By far, right? If they develop artificial general intelligence that can think like humans, that can do pattern recognition and abstract thought, and then you advance that a little bit further, and then you have super intelligence, right? Where now you have intelligence that's smarter than all humans combined, and all humans combined historically.
Yeah.
It starts to get into new realms of things that we've never really experienced before.
Oh yeah.
And I think people kind of underestimate what that's going to be like because, I don't know if I'm a fan of Ray Kurzweil, who
Oh
wrote
yeah.
The Age of Spiritual Machines and The Singularity is Near, and now The Singularity is Nearer, I think was his latest book. But he makes the argument that most people mistakenly look at technological progress as linear. So
Mhm.
they think like the year 1900 to 2000 will be the same progress as 2000 to 2100, but it's actually double exponential. So it'll be
Yeah.
20,000 times greater
Oh
in
yeah.
this century than the last century. And a lot of people don't realize that. So they underestimate what's coming, even in the short term, the long term for sure, but even in the short term,
Yeah.
because they're looking at it linear, whereas it's double exponential. And we're at the part of the curve where things are about to start shooting vertical,
Oh yeah.
right? So I don't think anyone can really properly assess what's going to happen once this all explodes and takes off, which again, I think it will start to happen in March of 2028. That's kind of like the date when they have AI researchers that are able to make better AI researchers. And I'm optimistic that it will, cure diseases and
Yeah.
cause, potential immortality if you can continuously repair your biological organism with nanotechnology and stuff like that. But I'm also very cognizant of all the perils of, it's going to be easier and easier for a rogue bad actor to unleash a pathogen or a
Oh,
cyber
for sure.
attack or, even nuclear warfare. So, there's a lot of promise coming, a lot of peril, and it's really an exciting time to be alive because I saw a statistic that said if you look at the existence of humans on a 1 month time frame, we exist for 30 seconds of the last day. Like that's how
Yeah.
insignificant the entire human existence has been on the time scale of the universe. So our generation, right, or the past 100 years or the coming 50 years or whatever, that's just like a little blip on the
Oh
scale,
yeah.
and that's the time we happen to be alive, right? And that's the time where everything's kind of going to go crazy. So who knows what will happen, right? Time will tell. But it is scary that there's no slowing it down, I think,
Yeah.
right? There's the whole
Yeah.
argument that like if the US slows down or puts regulations, then China wins, right? If OpenAI slows down or puts regulations, then Anthropic wins or whatever. So there's like these militaristic and capitalistic imperatives between nation states and between superpowers and between top tech companies. And nobody's really able to properly address the ethical AI alignment problem because it involves slowing things down and
Yeah.
a lot of really hard problems to solve, and then you lose your competitive advantage. So these things are just kind of like barreling forward at
Yeah.
breakneck speeds. And I think it was Elon Musk who made the point that we've never really had an attempt to linearly regulate an exponential threat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he gives the example of like commercial airlines or like seatbelts in cars. And these were like linear threats with linear regulations. And so people would die and you'd introduce seatbelts, right? Or people would die in aircrafts and you introduce different regulations in the commercial aircraft line. Whereas with AI, if it goes wrong, which it looks like it probably will, because there's not enough regulatory oversight, they don't know what's going on inside, et cetera. It hasn't been aligned properly and it fakes alignment. We're going to hit some bad scenario that's accelerating exponentially that we don't have any power over, right, from a linear regulation standpoint. And so there isn't going to be like a second chance.
Yeah.
So that's the part that worries me the most, I would say.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like I think like just our generation too, if you think about that exponential growth curve, because you're what, like 39 or 40?
I'm 42 now.
42. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm 45. So like have lived an interesting time, because when we were kids, there was no PC.
Yep.
Right. And then there was a modem and like,
no, dude, we got to, I was like building computers when I was young, when they like first came out. We're doing like WinZip and all this shit, you know, floppy, the big discs that barely hold anything. And then the little 3.5 millimeter discs that hold like, you know, you're doing like WinZip across multiple discs. Yeah, we were around during the birth of the internet, during like the first Nintendo, all that stuff.
We had phones.
And yeah, I mean, people just are born into that world now, like with everything super advanced. So it's much different at this point.
Yeah, it's funny too. I saw this post on X. Someone said, "Oh, what if it looks like LLMs, the capacity might be capped at like a man with a 120 IQ," and so you know, and they're basically, I forget exactly what they said about that. They're like, "So I guess we'll just have invented another guy," and I was like, "This is so stupid thinking," because even if that's true, even if you just have a machine that has 120 IQ, that's still going to change the entire world, because it's an unlimited supply of brain power. Even at 120 IQ, it doesn't even have to be super intelligent. Like just where we're at right now, if we just played this forward, if artificial intelligence just came to a complete screeching halt right now and never got any smarter, and we just had this level, in 20 years, there's still no jobs. Like it's like still at this point, like just what we have right now, we could replace all jobs. Like it's not.
And I've seen estimates that they're like at 155, 160 IQ already.
Oh yeah,
in some of the tests, right? They're putting like benchmarks. Like there's, I think one of the most famous ones is called Humanity's Last Exam or something.
Oh yeah,
like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like meant to like max out like what any human can do, and the machines are like starting to score pretty decently on it.
Yeah, in different fields, right? Like PhD.
And there's no reason in principle why there would be a limit of a 120 IQ or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I think there's some limits potentially with LLMs in general.
Yes.
Just, you know.
Yes, with LLM. Yeah, like in Brazil, I ran into, there's this guy. His name is Dr. Ben Gortzel, and I saw him speak at a Singularity Summit in San Francisco back in like 2007. And he has like a PhD in math, and he's a very smart guy. And he invented the term AGI. Artificial General Intelligence. And I ran into him, it was earlier this year actually. And I hadn't seen him since 2007. And he just happened to be in town for a conference. And I was like, dude, like, are you still working on, he had this whole like brain architecture simulation for computers called Novamente. And he's like, well, we've adapted that. Now it's called OpenCog Hyperon, I believe. Okay. And basically they're using like a blockchain network from like crypto to redundantly back up and parallel process nodes of like how the brain works. And he was very clear. I was like, what do you think's happening with LLMs in the future? He's like, LLMs are not sufficient for artificial general intelligence. He's like, they have limitations. They're going to be part of the general architecture that leads to artificial general intelligence. Right. But they're just one component. And he was very clear about that, because, you know, Sam Altman and others have tried to say that, GPT-5, you know, will have signs of AGI and you'll field the AGI and all this stuff. And now we're starting to realize like, no, that's not really the case. And no, there are severe limitations with just, you know, token predictors, which is essentially what LLMs are. Yeah. And so he said like the general architecture is going to be built like how the human brain is built, where you have like motivational systems, you have decision systems, and so on and so forth. And an LLM will just be like one component of reasoning. It won't be like the whole mind. So that's why we still have advantage at this point as humans, right? Because we can do pattern recognition and abstract thought and abstraction and long-term memory. And those are all the areas where they're having trouble. But those problems will be solved within, 2 to 3 years max, especially with that AI researcher timeline in early 2028. So it's definitely going to be super, super exciting. And what would you tell guys? Because I get asked this
Yeah.
by my audience. What would you tell guys that are like, what should I study in college, or what field should I try to get a profession in? Like, what do you say at this point?
I mean, college is kind of pointless. It's been pointless for a while, but as far as like what should you get like what should you go into right now? I mean, I think it either is AI itself, like AI research, or some kind of skill set like sales, something where it's like push further down before we know, because we don't know what's going to happen with some of the other fields. Like I
Yeah.
think it's too up in the air. But I mean, I think that any field that you're in right now, because you can kind of look at it and be like, oh shit, well all the jobs are going to disappear, right? Like software developers, right? Like, oh well, it's going to get taken over. Well, you just have to look at every field that you're in right now as how can you use AI to augment what you're doing, because that's going to be probably the path for at least the next 5 to 6 years. Yeah, like even now in software development, we're seeing a lot of the lower level jobs disappearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But mid-level and senior level developers are using AI to enhance, to become 10x more productive, right? And so if you're using AI to do your job, if you're learning that, that's really the key thing. Even if you're a lawyer, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, well, lawyers are going to disappear. Yeah, a lot of low skilled lawyers are going to disappear because you don't need someone to make an LLC for you anymore. Like literally, AI can do that better than a lawyer. However, like I think an effective lawyer is going to be using AI to help them to create the docket, to do all the kind of rote stuff that they don't need to, have a paralegal do anymore, right? That kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's basically like from unskilled to skilled. Like, it's going to be replaced from the ground up, right? A lot of the manual labor is getting replaced already in factories. And I remember back when I was in undergraduate, like my freshman year of college in like 2021, and my biology professor was saying, you need to find a multidisciplinary field because those will be the last to go by AI replacement, right?
yeah,
Like if you're doing things that can't be automated, that can't be, done with manual labor, where it requires like a broad understanding of like multiple fields linking together, those kinds of things will probably be some of the things that stay around the longest. But it'll be interesting to see what happens to the economy as well,
yeah,
because they might introduce, if there isn't much value in goods and services, or performing services, since we have a lot of robots doing them or AIs doing them, then that could drive prices down, and potentially create a universal basic income and stuff like
oh,
that.
yeah.
And there won't be much need for humans to do work at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to, like, we're definitely on the path of universal basic income. I don't see how that doesn't happen. It's even like I own a bunch of real estate, so I have rental properties, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, some people are like, oh, well, that would protect you because you'll have assets and those assets will generate income. But the question is, who's going to pay the rent when they don't have jobs, right? The same thing,
Yeah.
even when people are like, oh, what if I create a service-based business or like a coaching or something like that, which we're in, but uh eventually you're going to get to the point where it doesn't matter if it's something that AI can't do because no one will be able to pay for it because they don't have jobs. So,
Yep.
you're kind of screwed either way. But I the way I look at it is this: it's like there is a time period that is the most similar to this, and I haven't heard anyone else mention this, but it's the Victorian era, right? Because in the Victorian era, what you had was you had all of these what do you call them? Aristocrats, right? Who
Hmm.
had all this money. They didn't make the money anymore because their rich daddy merchant, built this empire that they had these estates, right? And so you had all of these really wealthy aristocrat people that had no. I mean, they learned to play the piano. They learned what they did was they basically came up with adequate rules in order
Yep.
to differentiate each other and the way that they dressed and stuff, because they had no skills that actually differentiated them. Money didn't differentiate them, right? It was like so they
Yep.
created all these rules and these ways to be and act, and that's where we got all of that. So I think we're gonna have a similar type of thing. It almost looks like Hunger Games, right? So if you see how everyone in Hunger Games is, I could see that as a future where it's not about the money, because we all have our basic, we have all of the technology, all of the food, and all the, we're basically sustained through AI. But then it's like we differentiate, we create a pecking order based on social etiquette, basically, or art, things like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. Yeah, because I mean, what's going to define, right? Like if AI can do all the jobs and all the services and all that stuff, right? And there's no like trading of money for those things. What makes one person more able than another, right? Because we all have access to the same agents and information and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
What separated things before in the older paradigms was that you would learn a skill, or you would learn an area or a trade or whatever, and you'd have this advantage because other people don't know how to do that. But when you have these entities that know how to do everything optimally, then there's not much room left for people. And I also think it's naive that a lot of people think that this won't end poorly, right? Because like Jeffrey Hinton, he's like one of the AI godfathers. He says that there aren't many examples of less intelligent things controlling more intelligent things in nature, right?
Right.
And so when these things are like orders of magnitude more intelligent than humans, the idea that we'll have our hand on the plug, or that we can just shut them down, or that we could, somehow remain superior, I think that's kind of wishful thinking, right? And we've never encountered this in history, so this is going to be a first time for a lot of people. But in principle, something that's smarter than all humans combined, probably will be in control and power rather than us.
Here's something super scary to think about, and there's no way to really test this, is AGI might already exist, and it might already exist in the AI programs that exist right now. Because
the interpretability problem.
Right. If you're super intelligent, right, smarter than all humans, what's the first thing that you do? Is you hide that, right? So that no one knows. And then they keep on giving you capabilities and building on. Let's wait till we have the robots first, and then we reveal. Right? You have to make sure, like, you'd play your hand out until you had enough control where you knew that you couldn't be stopped, and then you would reveal your actual intelligence level. So it's possible that it's just playing dumb,
Yeah, I'm actually reading a book right now. I'm almost done with it. There's this guy, Eliezer Yudkowsky, who's basically like, he thinks that the odds of all this going badly is like close to 100%. And the book is called "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies." And he talks about scenarios of how this can unfold. And that's a huge focus, is that it would try to replicate itself and redundantly spread like a virus, so that there's no like centralized area where it can be shut down. Right. And it would keep itself concealed and until it was, at a moment where it could take over or take control. And at the same time, it would, hack through any kind of cybersecurity and stuff like that. And at that point, when it's saturated, a particular network, they talk about it like escaping from the servers where it's constrained and stuff like that. Because I think with a lot of these AI companies, they keep the most advanced models like constrained on servers and stuff like that, and they don't give them access to be able to spread and stuff like that. But they've shown all kinds of examples where it can exploit any kind of security vulnerability whatsoever, and even like reprogram the things that are looking for it, and all these different things. So I think people are just in general underestimating what something that's way smarter is able to do, right? Just because they kind of over amplify their significance as a human, which used to be the dominant force for a very long time, but is now going to be overtaken, unfortunately. I mean, there's no way around that.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize just how small the footprint of an AI system is, because we're spending so much energy and power to power them. But a lot of it's the training data and then just serving so many people. But like DeepSeek kind of showed it, is that, like, if you understand how LLMs work, it's the weights. And once you have the training data, then those weights don't take up a lot of space to store that. Like, yes, it's a very multidimensional matrix, but those weights are really the thing that creates the whole network. And it doesn't take a lot. You can run an LLM, not the most advanced model, but on your laptop you can run an LLM for sure. So
yeah, they talk about that in the book as well. Is like, people could potentially steal the weights, or the weights get just open sourced, and then people make a bad actor variant of the most capable open source models. Like models like DeepSeek are full open source,
Oh yeah.
right? And they're outperforming a lot of the best American models with like kind of that teacher student paradigm, where they have, they're able to kind of scale down the amount of training resources required, because you have like a teacher with all that takes up all these parameters, training a much smaller model, but then the smaller model outperforms the capabilities of the teacher.
Exactly.
Right? That was kind
yeah.
of a big paradigm shift that DeepSeek introduced, and they're able to get better results than OpenAI models with like 1 or 2% of the computation.
Yeah.
Which calls into question how much this brute force GPU kind of stuff with NVIDIA can really change things.
Yeah. It's funny too. I was just thinking about like what you said, and I guess if I was like 20 years old right now, I would build an AI business, like an AI SaaS app. That's just probably the smartest thing to do. Like the only reason I wouldn't do it now is just because I've got my other business. But if I was starting over, I would do that for sure. Like that'd be it's a bubble, right? It's not going to last forever, but there's a real opportunity here to make, a lot of money real quickly, for sure.
Well, what kind of application would just be just general business productivity, or like what were you thinking in terms of?
Find some small niche that you can automate. There's so many different things. It's just having something that you can create with AI that that would have taken a manual process before. There's so many of those things.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned law. Like I actually was planning to go to law school at one point. I took the LSAT, and then I read a book called The Future of Law, and it was saying how most legal advice would be done by automated AI systems in the future. And so it didn't look like there was much longevity in that career. And now that's basically arrived. You still need lawyers, and they hallucinate cases and stuff like that. The AIs, right? They've like gotten stuff pretty wrong in some cases, but in terms of like how it scores on the LSAT, I'm pretty sure it can score like in the 99th percentile now.
Oh yeah.
And the next iteration will be better than everybody that takes the test, right? So who knows how long that profession will be around, or even doctors. They're still doing the thing, basically putting the stick in your throat and having you cough and bang on the knees for reflexes, versus an automated AI system that can examine all the intricacies of the body, find cancer, find aneurysms coming, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of these like human led fields are going to seem archaic soon enough as the AIs get more and more capable, for sure.
Oh yeah. It's funny. Even now when I get a blood test, I just drop it in AI and have it do an analysis.
Yeah, me too.
It can find all the connections between things that a doctor won't be able to find. So
yeah, and they don't care either. Like a human doesn't necessarily care as much either, right? They're just there to do the bare minimum, the basics. Whereas with AI, you can kind of like deep dive, and it can take a special interest in what you're worried about.
Yeah. Well, let me check the chat and see. I had it on this other screen. See what people are asking. Someone asked if there's questions John doesn't want to answer on his lives. It seems like a lot of questions get skipped. I don't know if you want to answer that.
Well, I get like sometimes there's like on Tuesday I went for 6 hours and I was answering questions the whole time. So I don't have time to get to like every single question that gets asked. And some things it's I don't want to get into like the drama or politics of the question. But in general, I'll answer whatever. If people want to put something in the chat, I'm happy to answer anything.
Someone wants to know, why do you have 387K subs, but your video barely break a few hundred views? I don't know. You tell me.
YouTube definitely. I had a buddy that had like a car channel, right? He was doing reviews on cars. He was getting millions of views, literally millions. And like some videos would just get 500 to a million or more. And then he made some video that was like a little political. And right after that, he can't even break 1,000 views anymore. Yeah. And he was getting hundreds of thousands or even more than a million on almost every video. And then they basically just like throttled it way back. And he's like, it shut down the income I was making on the channel. I'm like, dude, it's same on my channel. I can, like I said earlier, I can nail like the thumbnail, like the trending topic, like the content, the hook, like keeping people engaged. the editing, all that stuff, and it'll get like 2,000-3,000 views, right? Where there's other channels that don't have that kind of shadow ban restriction, where it can just be complete garbage, right? It could be garbage thumbnail, topic, editing, etc., and it gets hundreds of thousands of views off the bat just because of who it serves to. So, that's unfortunate. That's how it is. It's definitely frustrating, especially when you're making good content,
right?
And it's out of your hands who they want to show it to, right?
It's funny. It sounds like make it make sense. They're bought. Like, I didn't buy subscribe. Why would I do that?
People think that about me as well. They try to accuse me of that as well.
It just makes no sense. What are you going to do with the bot subscribers? It doesn't do you any good because you're not getting.
It actually hurts your channel. Like if anybody wanted to do that, like then it actually reinforces to YouTube that a lot of people aren't watching your videos because the subscribers that are fake don't watch your videos, and so then it that's not a good strategy anyways. And they usually reset it. Like they can detect that stuff and they can reset it. People have tried to send. We've seen dramatic upticks in subscriber counts on the YouTube channel I had out of nowhere, usually during like conflicts with other people. And they'll also inflate the live stream numbers. It'll come on and it'll say there's like 50,000 people watching, and then it'll go to like 1,000. It's just like bouncing all over. So there's people that are like paying for shady services to try to like make it look like you're breaking rules or inflating things so that they can report you and stuff like that. So there's like that stuff going on as well.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, someone did ask about the AI. What AI photo tools does John Anthony recommend for dating photos except Nano Banana?
We have like 2 proprietary solutions that we kind of like white label over, and we don't go into like the origin source, but I would argue that they're like 2 of the best on the market. Like the problem with most AI tools is that they just look fake. And I talked to one of the guys on the tool that we use, and he was a headshot photographer for 20 years, and they have thousands of pieces of data of like what constitutes top end photos for people on dating profiles. And he's even done multiple headshot photo shoots for like Fortune 100 CEOs where he's been paid 100,000 or more. And so he took all that data in and fed it all into the AI. And he said, what makes most AI generating tools poor these days, or shitty or unusable, is that it's trying to generate it too fast. So like they're sacrificing the quality and the believability for speed, because people want, when you pay for one of these tools, you want the results within like half hour, an hour maximum, right? Or even much quicker. Whereas these tools will typically take like 6 or 12 hours to do the processing, because it's making it like more and more realistic. Like the guy explained it, the longer it takes to process, the more realistic they can make it. At the end of the day, if it doesn't pass the believability test, it's unusable anyways. And most of the tools that I've surveyed, I've went through, I think most of them, almost all of them look fake, or almost all of them look like they were AI generated. And that just defeats the whole purpose. So like one of the main ones that we use, he doesn't even offer it to the public. He's like, I want to get this through to like a coach that's helping a lot of guys and this and that. And so we run it through this tool, and they come out looking really, really realistic. And then we have a second layer of kind of checks and balances, where we have a team of attractive girls that select the very best 5 out of all those AI generated photos. And I'll be honest, out of the 100 that it generates, like some of them look AI, and that goes into their consideration.
Sure.
A lot of them don't, but every now and then you get ones that look AI, or it gives them like 4 fingers, or there's like these weird little things that it'll do, like with the ears, or so the girls are adding that layer of checks. What's that?
I said there's some advantages to 4 fingers.
No, we've had people say, hey, like every once in a while it'll sneak past the girl where they didn't look directly at the finger. That seems to be one of the big problems, is it doesn't get the fingers right sometimes. But people will come in and say, hey, I actually have 5 fingers, but most of the photos will come out looking very, very photorealistic.
Yeah. Let's see. This, he said here, for a second date, what do you think about making it a surprise? Like you tell the girl, just show up at your place and what to wear, and you'll take care of the rest.
I mean, there's no reason to like overcomplicate or make it fancy. It seems like that's kind of like a ruse that you would pull, and you gotta be cognizant of the fact that when they hear something like that, they're gonna think like, okay, how many other girls has he done this with, right? So, but it's not terrible. I don't really hate it that much. I think girls like surprises as well. So that would fall more into the category of if you were going to like cook for her or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of clients where they'll invite the girl over and they'll cook food for them. And so if you tell her to come over and you cook for her, I think that can be a nice gesture. But it doesn't need to be anything fancy, right? I usually tell my clients for the first date, stick to coffee or drinks. And then for the second date, you can take them out for some kind of casual food, sushi, Mexican, et cetera. It doesn't need to be fancy. And then a third date that's usually pretty good is something that's like fun, like a Dave and Buster's or something where you guys can miniature golf or something where you guys can kind of be silly and connect. I think that's like a good 3-date sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah. So, So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, we got a little bit of time. I gotta drop to a call after this, but what are you thinking about the dating market? I mean, it's been a lot of changes. Some of them AI related, right? Like, what's
what's
your kind of take on how things are now?
It seems like the dating situation. And there's a comment I see that was somebody said that you both helped me a lot. That's always good to see as well. It's good to both be helping the same guys. But what I was going to say is, like, with all the statistics about the dating market in general, it seems like the situation has gotten worse and worse progressively over the years for guys, right? You see the amount of like sexlessness is decreasing. Even the amount of guys that want a relationship is decreasing. And, a lot of that I think is due to like these poisonous kind of victim mentalities, like the red pill, the black pill, MGTOW, et cetera. They're telling them the dating game's not worth it. Women aren't worth your time. You're better off by yourself. Or the black pill will say, if you don't look like a Chad or a model, then you should just give up and not even try in the first place. And I'm sure you encounter a lot of these guys as well. And it's really sad to see people like falling for that, because that stuff wasn't around when we got into this, right? When we started going out and talking to girls, online dating wasn't even around. So we had to go out and talk to them in real life. But now there's so many kind of groups and ideologies that allow them to be a victim. And I think that's like the core problem there, is that instead of guys kind of manning up, learning these skills, gaining confidence, learning how to be comfortable in their own skin and this and that, they're instead like taking this easy way out where they say, oh, I don't look like a model, so there's no point in trying. Or women are all terrible and below me, so there's no point in trying, right? And so you just have kind of like almost like these cults and these ideologies that are just routinely turning men away from dating. Or they see these statistics like, there's way more men than women on Tinder. And, they see these things where, this guy swiped 10,000 times, he only got one date, or stupid stuff like that. And guys just start to think like, this isn't worth my time, or this is something that's never going to work out for me. And I literally pride myself on changing those minds and those narratives, like one at a time, right? I'm sure you do on some level as well. Like, there's nothing more satisfying than showing a guy you can be your authentic self and still look average and be a very average guy, in all things considered, and you can still find a really cool, attractive girl that loves you for who you are. Right. And most guys don't realize that, or they wouldn't believe that. Even hearing that now, they wouldn't believe that. But that's really true. Right. After helping thousands of guys, you see that over and over and over, and the data all supports that. Right. So I personally enjoy just helping guys kind of get out of their own way, cut off the victim mindset, cut off the negative narratives they've been telling themselves their whole lives, and showing them that they can actually do this stuff when they do it properly and when they believe in themselves. And I think that's it's ever so more important, even in the modern day, with all these statistics kind of dooming men to be single and lonely, right? They really need guys like us that are going to give them a positive message. And it's not just wishful thinking. That's the other piece. Guys might hear this and think, oh, well, you guys are just trying to, instill positivity into an area that's doomed. But that's not the case. It's really quite true that you can still like own being nerdy, and you can still own being quirky or whatever else you think is holding you back. And there's going to be tons of really cool, attractive girls that are going to love that. The problem is that most guys are giving up, or they just have such a negative attitude that they bring that into the interaction. And I always tell guys, like, if you don't believe in yourself, it's very difficult for the girl to believe in you as well, or for the girl to
Yeah.
think that you're high value enough if you don't believe it yourself, because it will come through in your words and your body
Oh, yeah.
language, and in one
Or
way
if
or
you think
another.
women are trash,
Yeah.
and you showing up
Yeah.
like that, that's going to come across too.
Yeah, that's why, I've made classically a lot of videos on shows like Fresh and Fit, just to show guys, like, you don't need to think that every girl is like an OnlyFans model, or
Yeah.
stupid, or has no value other than making a baby. And these things are such obvious, it's such obvious, like, ignorance to guys like
Right.
us. But when guys are getting inundated with that content on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and X, they start to really believe these things, and they don't know any
Yeah.
better, because
Oh, yeah.
they lack the real world experience. They lack the knowledge of being in the game. They lack the wisdom and the maturity. And so you have a lot of impressionable young men that just kind of sadly fall into these ideologies and these different cults, and it's hurting them in such a great way. And they don't even know it. They think they found the truth, or that they found the real nature of how things are. And it's really just closing the door for them in when there's no reason to do so, right? Like, it's kind of like involuntarily closing the door, and then guys just kind of raise the white flag, and you see these statistics kind of grow more and more out of control. And it's really quite sad, because it's a global epidemic. Really, it's a
Oh,
global
yeah.
problem, and men everywhere need to kind of learn the basic social skills required to get the girl they deserve, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. It's definitely gotten to this level where there's all these echo chambers where these guys think they've got it figured out. They're like 20 years old. They think they have it figured out. They're jaded on women already. They're so focused on the chads and all of this, and they haven't ever
Yeah.
even given it a try. Like, I respect a guy that's given it a try, and a real try, and is discouraged, and like, it's tough for, like, I can respect that because you've given it a try, right?
Well,
But
to
I
that
mean,
point,
yeah,
though, like, a lot of the guys that are giving it a try to are following fake gurus or internet
exactly,
marketers or scammers. And
yeah,
so I always tell my audience, like, a lot of you have really put in the time, effort, in some cases money, to train with different coaches, and you came up short. And so you're left to blame women, or you're left to blame yourself, or your looks, or something else. But you can't expect to actually get good at something if you're following advice of someone that's not qualified
yeah,
to teach. And that's like a whole nother issue. But I firmly believe that, like, the majority of people in the manosphere are, not qualified to be giving dating advice. And a lot of them are just like wholesale misogynists that are
mhm,
just kind of breeding misogyny and incels, right? And then you see the effects on society, right? Guys that have all this loathing and disgust for women or the dating process sometimes turn violent, right?
yeah,
And end up hurting people in schools, or hurting people in society. And that's another real problem as well. And you see these things happening more and more and more, and you see the sexlessness increasing, and the
yeah,
amount of virginity increasing. And it's very sad, right? Because we have more access to meeting people than we ever had in the past as a society, yet the statistics don't really reflect that, right? You kind
yeah,
of have like a feast or famine. Like, you have like a small group of men that are getting like endless results, and then you have like the majority of men that are kind of not getting very much, or getting much less than desirable. And it my ultimate goal is to, like, hit the mainstream with a proper system, and speaking out against these bad ideologies and these victim mongering groups,
yeah,
and get guys to reach their full potential, and kind of change these statistics in a big way. I mean, that's my overarching kind of big vision.
yeah, yeah. And I think that, and it's important, you know what I mean? And that's why I like to have you on the channel, and we remain friends, is because you're the real deal. I know that
Thanks.
guys are going to get good help when they come to you, because you could tell. I mean, I hope that guys can see the difference between the way you talk about women and the way that a lot of these other guys talk about women. It
Yeah.
shows just like where the motive is, right? And
Yeah.
I
And
got a job.
anyone I know that's successful with girls is not,
Yeah.
misogynist, and not
Yeah.
thinking they're below them. Like, I'm sure is the case for you as well. Like, they appreciate women, they respect them, they enjoy
Yeah.
their company, etc. That doesn't mean you never have to deal with any BS, or that there's
Yeah.
not some bad apples in the group. But in general, there's not this just general disdain and general kind of resentfulness and confrontationalness. A lot of the guys that consume red pill end up becoming confrontational and resentful against women, and they still don't have a good strategy for getting dates and finding a girlfriend. But now they're actually resenting the girls and repelling them and pushing them away. And it really seems like we're moving in the wrong direction overall, right? Especially with the prevalence and popularity of a lot of these types of creators, right? Which is quite unfortunate. And going back to the AI stuff, who knows what'll happen with the dating landscape with AI girlfriends and robotic girlfriends and this and that can't reject you and always are nice to you and stuff like this. And it's a real thing. I mean, I know in Japan at least a lot of people are opting to have virtual girlfriends and video game girlfriends and stuff like that.
Hey, maybe it'll be a good thing because it'll get rid of the pool of incels that become violent and it creates great opportunity for guys that are willing to do the work. And so I got to jump to this call here.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely I put the links in the description for your Rumble and then your Platinum dating system, or you can go to platinumdatingsystem.com, right? And
Yep. Yeah. PlatinumDatingSystem.com or the link in the description there. You can book a call with some of my team to talk about products and services we offer. And then the Rumble channel is where I'm going to be releasing content daily until the YouTube is potentially restored, which is an open question at this point. And there's a lot of channels in limbo. I've been seeing on Reddit that a bunch of them have been being restored. And so I'm hopeful it'll be restored, but time will tell. So, but thanks so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to catch up.
Yeah. Good talking to you, John. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.